My colleague Bettina has been covering the FEC session in the most part of the day, and she joins me now. With her is a lecturer in the Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos, Dr. Samuel Unwana. Thank you both for being here with us. Bettina, let's start with you. Was this a unanimous decision or was there any objections?
Objections whatsoever. As a matter of fact, an explanation was given to the appointment or the creation of the 9 new universities, the private universities, and the reason was also given as to why the other universities, the federal universities, have no standing to get new ones. Now, the minister had already mentioned how a lot of these universities have no students even applying to them. About 34 of them in the last JAM had 0 students apply to them. So it's not something that they think is sustainable for them to keep opening federal universities when there are even some that are not being properly utilized. Now, on the other hand, he did say that the private universities that have now been given authorization to commence and go ahead have been on that wait list for quite a while. So it's not something that is just coming out of the blues today. And they don't want a situation whereby the public says that the Ministry of Education, they are talking with 2 sides of their mouth. On one side, they are saying, oh, we're going to do this about the federal universities. And then on the other side, you're now saying that, oh, we are going to now create and open 9 new private universities. So that was the explanation that was given during the session.
Dr. Unwana, 9 private universities were approved today despite this decision. Are there still pending approvals, or the last approved will mark the end of more institutions until another 7 years, as stated by the committee?
Well, I'm not part of the executive members of that committee that maybe one of the ministers that recommended such a move to know whether more would be created before then. But as we have heard, we have heard that 7 more have been created. But I think it's one of the earliest achievements of this administration. If you follow ASU's narrative, if you follow ASU's cry, you would realize that ASU has always been crying, agitating, clamoring for the federal government to put a pause, to put a stop on the incessant creation of federal universities, because the ones that we have already, some of them are almost moribund, and some of them are not even living to its expectations. So I think the idea that these idea of creating federal universities, colleges of education, polytechnics, just for political reasons, is one of the hallmarks of these administration, because this would help to position the existing ones for growth, for impact, and of course to be able to compete rather very well with some of the institutions around the world.
I'll start with you, Doc, and just ask, one of the reasons that was given by the committee was that the goal was to halt decay in tertiary institutions, which may in future affect the quality of education and consequently cause unemployment of graduates from some of these universities. Do you think this decision affirms the quest for that goal?
Yes, it does, because you find out that when you get to some universities, the infrastructure decaying, and of course, when you look at the student to lecturer ratio in some of the federal universities, you would know that the government has the reason, or to halt that incessant federal university, creation of federal universities. And I strongly believe that while they have halted these creation or establishment of these federal universities, what they should do right now, because I read the report, they should focus on those areas that made them to put a stop, and then strengthen the existing ones, and then look at how to bring in new courses that can help, for these students, when they graduate, they can be able to compete with others around the world. And they should pay attention to STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and maths and technology and all of that. And then they should also establish, some of the polytechnics. When I mean establish, I'm talking about establish these programs firmly together with PPP, that's public-private partnership, so that at the end of the day, these courses should be able to impact the lives of students. What are we talking about? Graduates, our students, at the end of the day, they cannot compete with other graduates around the world. For example, some students are not even aware of the digital entrepreneurship. They're not even aware that there's a course right now outside of this country called renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and all of that. So the decision that the federal government has made today to halt, and of course, put a stop to the establishment of further universities.
As optimistic as you may sound, some people say it's just for 7 years. I'll come back to you in a bit, but let me bring back my colleague to just ask, beyond the reason given by the Minister of Education, what was the reason adduced by the executive members for taking this decision? On the one hand, approving some universities and saying the submission was over 79.
Just the approval or non-approval of these universities, they also talked about how the public weighs the certificates that come from the various tertiary institutions. Now, it's no new knowledge that people sort of value BScs over HNDs and NDs, and that was something they also talked about, saying that going forward from September, some set of the tertiary institution will begin to receive bachelor's degrees. And then from September next year, technical colleges as well will be giving Bachelor of Technology, instead of having all those NDs and HNDs and creating a divide where certificates come to play in looking for jobs within the country. So it was all-encompassing, and of course there were no objections when we were being given this briefing. So I think that it is something that the government is really ready to do, and I sincerely hope that it will also bridge the gap that lies between different forms of tertiary institutions when they release their graduates, so that one section is not saying, oh, I have a HND, I can't apply for this job, and things like that.
All right, Dr. Unwana, I was saying before I came back to my colleague, 7 years, some would say it's not such a long time. What are the chances that this decision will hold beyond this administration? I mean, yes, they're set for re-election in 2027. It's not cast in stone. They may win, they may not. So what are the chances?
Understands what education is. That is the bedrock of development in any society. Would not tamper with what they are doing unless they have a superior plan. I give you an example. Nigeria is not the first country that has halted establishment of federal universities. South Africa did it in the early 2000s, and of course, South Africa and of course India. But at the point, India had to expand because of population, and then South Africa developed it and then injected in more money into research, faculty improvement, of course, infrastructure. So any administration coming in, I should study what they have done, and then whether it has succeeded, whether it has helped to improve the gaps that, or to fill the gap that they realized that was the problem in the education, especially the tertiary institution. And of course, if these gaps are blocked, especially using PP, I'm talking about public-private partnerships, improving research, investing in the training of lecturers, research ventures and all of that, you will find out that within this short time, because it's 7 years, 2027, they're vying for a re-election, there is no sensible government that would want to come and tamper with what has not been broken. They found out that something has been broken, there's something wrong. If you're in the education sector, if you are in the business of education in this country, you will know that the quality of graduates that we are producing out every day, they cannot compete, favorably well with their counterparts outside of this country. I give you a typical example. When you get out of this country and you want to go and apply for a postgraduate course, maybe in Canada, they will also ask you to come and do a test of English, test and all of that, which is not supposed to be. In those days, Nigeria used to hold sway in terms of education.
Well,
so I think
Dr. Unwana,
there is no sensible government who will want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one step in multiple steps to fix our education system. But we hope that they take the right decisions to help us out. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.
Bettina, thank you also for covering the story.
Thank you so much, Felicity.